obvious autistic traits in childhood, and yes, petting a cat counts, but we'll get to that in a second. Welcome to those of you who are new. My name is Andrew, or Drew for short. As always, this channel is a safe place to talk about your neurodivergent experiences, so please be respectful in the comments. Let's jump in. As a late diagnosed autistic person who got their diagnosis only a few months ago, I've had the incredibly disorienting experience of having to discover my autism all on my own. And I was so good at masking it that I even fooled myself for 20 plus years. When I got tested, I knew it was crucial and important to find evidence of autism in my childhood, as experiences in childhood can give a more honest representation for doctors and professionals who are testing for it. Autism is a lifelong condition, and you can't become autistic. You either are or are not. So, as we go through this list of tips in spotting autism in childhood, please note that by calling these autistic traits does not mean that it can't be related to by someone who's not autistic. What makes these traits clear is a statistically significant majority of said traits experienced consistently throughout the entire lifetime. So while collecting an enormous amount of data on myself, which is very autistic of me, I dug through some old videos. And not only did I notice those traits, but it was so crystal clear that I couldn't unsee it. And it was so obvious, in fact, that it actually made me really upset that no one in my life had noticed or said anything. So, hopefully this video helps in identifying those traits, or at least validates your experience if you're late diagnosed like me. So let's talk about those tips in spotting autistic behavior in childhood. Let's go back to the cat. So here I am, about 5 years old, petting a cat. And petting a cat in itself isn't weird at all. But what we're drawing attention toward isn't the activity, but rather the context around what's happening. When looking for these traits, it's helpful not to get stuck in the box of seeing stereotypes and only stereotypes. Rather, it's helpful to just look at irregularities in behavior. So for example, while stereotypically someone may not hold a lot of eye contact, the opposite can also be true with intense or too much eye contact. And in my case, ironically, having too strict adherence to black and white textbook definitions did actually cause me to second guess my own autism, which was very autistic of me to do. Okay, so petting a cat is normal, but this very typical behavior becomes atypical when we compare the context to the other kids around me. They too pet the cat, but they quickly lose interest and move on. My cousin notices the camera and even smacks me on the head to get my attention to look at my dad recording us. And yet, I just continue on petting the cat like nothing happened. I'm still on my own little planet. I'm just off in my own little world in my head, where the only thing in the entire universe that exists is this cat in front of me. The word autism actually comes from the root word aut, or auto. You know, like automatic, works by itself, does its own thing. It means by one's self, alone, deeply occupied by their own thoughts and feelings. So the video continues for minutes, and I am still there petting the cat when all of the other kids are long gone. So zooming out a little bit, petting a cat for 3 minutes isn't that crazy, but in this context, it's very apparent how different I am compared to the other kids. Also, I don't like cats. I'm allergic. So yeah, watching this clip was very interesting. Now for this next clip, again, this video doesn't look all that special. So watching this video, you may think he's just getting a picture with someone dressed up in costume, no big deal. He's just probably shy. But here's the thing. As a kid, I lived and breathed Power Rangers. I basically had every toy you could buy. I had Power Rangers t-shirts, clothes, and I had watched every possible Power Rangers movie or episode in existence. I was the reason that we went to this event in the first place. My love for Power Rangers is what dragged us all out there, even though no one else in my family cared at all. So here we are at this event for me, and yet I can't even bring myself to smile in a picture with my hero who's standing right there. And as we observe this, we can compare my body language versus that of my sister's, who is confident, happy to be there even though she doesn't care about this at all, and my body language is closed off. I look like I hate everything. The takeaway that I'm trying to point out here is that I didn't behave as expected in this situation. Due to how obsessed I was with Power Rangers, it definitely would have been expected for me to behave very differently than how I did. It looked like this was the last place on Earth that I would want to be, even though I was the reason we were there in the first place. It's clear that I'm having a hard time. So these photos are very telling, and they all follow this formula. Every kid is smiling right at the camera, and I'm off in my own world. You'd think I didn't know what cameras were. Once again, in my own little world, either with a toy in hand or just clearly having a harder time than everyone else around me. You'll notice a theme here. If you're enjoying this video so far, please like the video, as it actually makes a big difference, and consider subscribing for more high quality content on high quality topics. So this picture, so what can we learn here? Objectively, are farm animals stinky? Yes. Is plugging your nose expected behavior in this situation? Yeah, definitely could be. But in contrast to everyone else around me, we're all doing the same activity, but I'm visibly still having a harder time with these sensory inputs. The key thing that we should all remember is autism is not observable. And what I mean by that is we can't see each other's brains, and we can't just copy and paste experiences of what others are thinking and feeling. So even though we covered a lot of outwardly observable examples, please keep in mind that traits are only the leaf of a tree. Traits are just what we see bubbling up from the surface, but really don't tell the full story of the deep inner world that the autistic person is experiencing. We can't fully judge or discern the deep isolation of an autistic brain. Intense, big emotions, or yearning for justice and fairness to such a degree that it physically hurts. You know, these are just some examples of the internal lived experience. So my point, while we did cover a lot of outwardly observable things, it can't ever replace what's being lived by the autistic person. Whether you're watching this to better understand someone else in your life, or you're watching it for yourself, we can all benefit by thinking a little bit more introspectively with curiosity and patience. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.